Okay, so this is the first and hopefully a long series of videos where we are going to talk through several aspects of creating an MVC web project. What I'm hoping to provide is a practical approach to creating these projects where you can watch me do the work and I will do my best to think out loud so that you can hear my thought process. Most of these videos are going to be pretty raw, mistakes and all. I'll be targeting primarily junior developers or future developers coming out of college that are really just looking for a place to piece together everything that they've learned up to this point. And while all these videos assume that the viewer has a firm grasp of the C# language and object-oriented principles, we will still touch on potentially new subjects and design patterns. I'll make an effort to stay away from accessory technology so that the viewer will have a clean starting ground, or rather you won't be encumbered by the need to learn too much at one time. So the first thing that we're going to do here, assuming that our problem domain is basically just creating an MVC website, is we're going to go ahead and walk through my process of my simplified process of setting up a new MVC project. So I'll be working here in Microsoft Visual Studio 2013 just because I'm new and like to stay current. Anybody who's working in 2010 or 2012 should be fine. So the first thing I'm going to do is come up to the File menu, and I'm going to create a new project. Not website, but new project. I'm going to go to Web, and just start an ASP.NET web application. Now in earlier versions of Visual Studio, it'll actually say MVC web application, but they've simplified it, so now it's just ASP.NET web application, and this will give you all the options that were previously available in the older templates. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to create a website here just to show a number of different aspects. So I think the first thing we're going to do is just create a website that's going to allow you to track an employee database. So you'll be able to add employees, edit the employees, view the list of employees, and I think that should give us enough to work with. So we're just going to call this employee database. Pretty simple. I'm going to turn off my source control here and create directory for solution. I'm just going to drop it in my default directory and just hit OK. It's going to ask you what kind of website that you're actually trying to set up here so it can help you. It doesn't really matter in the end which one of these you pick, but picking the appropriate one can save you some time in that it's going to generate all the boilerplate code for you in the background. So for instance, if you're going to do a web API, the controllers will be API controllers instead of regular controllers. And that's not really important right now, but what we're going to do is just simply pick MVC here. And that's going to give us all the basic folders and boilerplate code that we need to go forward. It asks you some stuff about authentication. We're not going to mess with that right now. We'll go back and add it later. Unit tests, you generally always want to have a unit test project, but we're going to add that later. So for right now, we're just going to focus on the basic website itself. So I'll click OK, and it'll start generating all that. And I apologize for if at any point the screen gets too small. I'm working on a 30-inch monitor here, so the resolution can cause some problems. But I will go back and edit some zooming and all that, and hopefully I do a good job of that. We can only hope, right? Okay, so over here in the Solution Explorer, it's going to set you up with some of your basic file structures. Again, the website is set up in MVC. I'm assuming that you at least have looked up what MVC is before coming into this tutorial, but if you have not, the quick and dirty is MVC is based on a design pattern. It is a framework for creating web pages that is designed on the MVC design pattern. So the MVC design pattern basically stands for the M is for model, the V is for view, and the C is for controller. Now without digging too deep into what the MVC pattern is, it basically provides you with a clear separation of concerns. So where the view is everything that the user is going to see and interact with, the model is going to be basically the file or the file structure that is supporting the view, and the controller is going to help communication between the two. Now we'll get into more detail as we start putting the project together as to what that means. Okay, I'm not exactly sure where I left off here. So anyway, so as you've created the website, it will set you up with your basic file structure here. Um, you obviously get your folder for your controllers, for your models, and for your views. And we'll touch each one of these as we go. So one of the things I like to generally do is set up my N tier layers to make sure that we have a good clean separation of concerns. And I do that in addition to the model, the view, and the models, the views, and the controllers as well. So what I typically do is I create one for each logical layer, not counting the view, because it's already given to you here for the MVC setup. So the business layer I usually call logic, but that's your business logic layer. I also do an object folder, and this is going to house all of my objects that are not view models. So the models folder here that they give you, I typically reserve that specifically for view models, and I'll explain later what that is. And one of the other layers I want to make sure to add would be our data layer. And this will house all of our data sources and repositories, and we'll talk more about what those are as we get to them.